Right, let's give 1 more minute and then we shall get started. It's just right now around 9 o'clock. All right, let's get started. Let me take it into presentation mode. Sorry, guys, you see my screen?
Yes, Jay.
Okay. Yes. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning for another wonderful session, Best Fire. Today, we are going to speak about, 1 second. Yep. Today, we are going to introduce a few of our entrepreneurs. At the same time, we are going to take help of our CPA, at the same time, attorney to run the show. Today's topic is how to start a company. So before that, I would like to give the format, how we are going to run this show. So there will be first few minutes introduction is followed by Anil Gandhi's CPA. He will run the show for 7 to 10 minutes going through the presentation, then followed by our attorney Hafiz, who is going to take over, and then he's going to cover the rest of the topics, and then followed by our Q&A directly. All right. So before that, let me give you some updates here. So most of us are, whoever joined this call, has some of the great product ideas. We have done a lot of numerous hours spending for the market analysis. We did the prototypes, and we also did the tested, sampled out with a few of our customers. That's wonderful, right? But how do we take it to the next step? How can we take it to the public? How do we form an entity? From where do we need to start? So thus the entire picturization comes here as part of this today topic. Our scope is much about how to form a company. What kind of company do we need to form? Where do we need to start for the formation of the company? So that's the complete scope of this today's session we are going to cover today. So with that said, I'll directly jump on to the introductions. Mr. Anil Gandhi. Anil Gandhi is the CEO and founder of AZ FinTech. He holds a professional team of CPS, chartered accountants, and other financial professionals. He has more than 15 years of experience in finance profession as a finance controller. He already worked at, prior to this, he worked at Amazon, Starbucks, PwC, and Sun Edison. His mission statement was to enable the small business owners through tax planning, CFO, and wealth management. That's about our great Mr. Anil Gandhi. Moving on to Mr. Hafizuddin. He is partner and managing attorney at Chuck's Law, LLP, New York City office. He has more than 20 years of legal practice, especially in the business immigration, H1, E1, sorry, there is a typo error, L1, EB5, and there are a lot more immigration status, right? So he is very much experienced in those areas. His mission statement was representing clients, business owners with regard on a range of business and corporate matters, including corporations, asset, share purchase transactions, business agreements, commercial leasing, and all type of real estate transactions. And finally, we are going to introduce our Mr. Om Prakash Nakagar. We know him as if Zenith CAD CEO and founder. He's a serial entrepreneur with a portfolio of IT companies. He has more than 20 years of experience in running multiple organizations. His mission statement is enablement of startup culture in his organization. So with that said, I would like to introduce a few more points about our audience to our speakers so that when we try to answer or when we try to respond to a query, we should have a consideration of all these points, right? Our audience has a combination of mix of IT folks, mechanical, pharmacists, story writers, movie directors, lot more. Our audience has a mix and match of lot more professions here. But at the same time, our audience has a mix and match of citizens, green cards, and some of them are like on their different kind of immigration statuses. So some yet to land in US, but they still have a greater product ideas and they do not know how to take it to market. Experience-wise, majority of our audience has a range of 5 to 15 plus years of experience in their respective fields, and they have very good knowledge on those, understanding about the products, right? Their mission, they would like to start up the companies the next 3 to 6 months. That's about our audience and introductions. Let's move on. I will give the control right now to Anil Gandhi. Anil, if you like to share your screen, probably I'll make you as a co-host and then you can take it from there.
Yes, thank you very much for the introduction. And I'm sorry, before I get into the topic, it's a great privilege for me to share this platform with the very, very highly enthusiastic and with a great visionaries here. I'm just sharing my screen. Okay. So as the intro mentioned, I'm the CEO and founder of AG FinTax. I run a CPA firm with a team of CPAs and chartered accountants. And this platform, I would like to share my knowledge and experience. But I strongly recommend you to please work with your respective CPAs or attorneys or legal advisors before you follow any strategies or before you implement any of the recommendations. Because from person to person, the situation might be different, criteria might be different when we do the recommendation. So first, as the topic directly, I'm getting into the topic. So what are the steps to start your business? The most first important one is conduct your market research. So wherever you have expertise, wherever you have the passion, I want you to do a market research before even you think about starting a business or before even start any of your business. Whether it can be real estate, it can be an IT company, it can be a product development, whatever it is. Please first do your market research and see what is the opportunity you have to be successful in that area. And then next one is write your business plan. So how you want to structure the business, how you want to run the business, from where you get the funds. So you need to have a proper business plan and fund your business. Once you have the plan, then start getting at least you have to invest very small, at least a small amount into your business, even to the registrations. And I also recommend you to have a proper plan from where you will be getting the money to run your businesses. What would be your source of funds? Then choose your business structure. There are different business structures we have. Sole proprietor, LLCs, partnership LLCs, S corporation, C corporation. So I will try to cover what are the a few of the structures in the next couple of slides. So you need to decide even before registering your business. You need to decide which entity structure you want to run your business. Then register your business. Then get your federal and state IDs. Once you register your business, you are also required to get your employer identification number for every business. It can be a sole proprietor or it can be a partnership, it can be an LLC. So you need to get an EIN number and you also need to get your state IDs. So every state, you might need to register with the states. So wherever you are living, please check with your states and try to get your state IDs to run your business in those states. Then you also need to know what are the licenses and permits are required to run your business. So many times I notice that people just like that run the business, but they don't even have the required permits, required licenses. After that, there will be heavy penalties, or you might need to shut down your business with a force from the government. So so once you get all these permits and everything, then yes, you can start your business. So, and many people ask me, when do I need to incorporate my business? As I mentioned, if you want to start your business, you can start today as a sole proprietor. Even you don't have to register specifically. If you are thinking about your business, you are a business owner. And do I need to register, do I need to incorporate an LLC or any other entity? Answer is not required on the day when you are starting your business. But we recommend you to register your business as soon as possible before you hire your employees, before you go and ask for the partners to invest money or their time into your business. And also, whenever you want to go out, this business incorporation will help you as a brand, as an identity for your business. So why do I need to register a business? Can't I run a business even without an incorporation? Answer is yes, you can run your business even without the incorporation, but we recommend you to incorporate because the first most important thing is you get a liability protection. If anyone files a case on you, your personal assets are not at risk if you have a proper entity set up. It can be a limited liability company or it can be a corporation. And you do also have a option of transferability of ownership. If you want to sell your company at some other time, this incorporation really helps you. And also you can build your credit and you can also raise capital when you have a business setup which is properly incorporated. Then of course the last one is, of course, it helps you on tax savings also. And I want to cover very key business structures which we use on day-to-day basis. The first one is limited liability protection, which is very familiar and very well known as LLC. So the advantage of having an LLC is considered as a disregarded entity for tax purpose. It means even you run your business. The first one, even you run your business, whether you make a profit or loss, that will be part of your individual tax return. Your entity is not separate for the tax perspective. And if you register your LLC, the most important thing is you get a liability protection so that no one can claim, no one can file a case on your personal name. They can only go to the extent of business assets only. They cannot come to your individual assets. So then if you register with an LLC, you don't need to do any double taxation. What is a double taxation? I will cover it separately. So at a very high level, there is no double taxation. If you have an LLC, it means whatever the entity is making the profit, the business is making a profit or loss, that is nothing but you. You need to pay taxes at your standard tax rates applicable. So entity is not different. It's a part of your individual tax return. And you have the tax flexibility. It means once you register as an LLC, you can convert this into as an S corporation or C corporation as required when you're running your business. You don't have to choose it's a S corporation or C corporation on the date when you incorporate. If you're not very sure how your business has to be structured, just register an LLC and start running your business. Over the time, based on your business needs and your future goals, you can choose whether you want to elect it as an S corporation or C corporation. And very many people miss to do this annual report. Wherever you register, in whatever state you register, you have to file annual reports to the respective state. If not, your company will be dissolved. Your company will be in a deactive status. So that technically you don't have authority to run your business. So once you register your company, it's very important to renew this company to file annual report with your state department or state secretarial board every year without file by the due date. The next one I want to talk about the C corporation. First we discussed about the LLC. So now I want to talk about the C corporation. C corporation is a tax-paying entity separate from its owners. It means if you register a C corporation, it's completely different from you. Corporation is different, you are different. So company, the C corporation, the entity maintains their books of accounts, maintains the company runs the business, company pays the taxes. You don't need to pay taxes on the business profits, whatever you make on year-on-year basis. And it is double. If you go for a C corporation, it is a double taxation. It means first company pays 21%. The current tax rate is 21%. First C corporation, the company pays 21%, and whenever you want to take the profit out from the company, again you are obligated and you need to pay taxes again on the dividend whatever you are taking as a shareholder. So you are paying the taxes 2 times. That is why we call it's a double taxation. Then the good thing about C corporation is you don't need to pay any self-employment taxes if you make any on the net profits on the business. And as to avoid the double taxation, you don't need to take the money out of the you don't need to take the profits out from the business year-to-year basis. Rather, you can just leave the funds there and let it grow year on year. I mean, every year company pays 21%. That's it. You don't have to take the profits from the company, so that you don't need to do any double taxation. So you can leave the profits in the company, and the company can invest wherever it wants. Then the ability to spread net profits over the okay. If you have losses in the business, what you do with the losses? You can roll over the losses to year on year, so that in the future you don't. If you make any profits, these losses will be knocked off with the profits, so that you don't have to pay taxes in the future to the extent of whatever the carryover losses you have. And the tax flexibility. If you think that your C corporation is not fit for you, you have an option to convert back into the S corporation in the future when you are running your business. And typically, this is C corporation is not recommended for many small businesses unless they are looking for VC funding, venture capital funding, or they are looking for international shareholders. So if you think that, okay, we are in US, if you want to have from India, if you want to have a shareholder, then C corporation is recommended. Otherwise, we don't even recommend C corporation because there is a double taxation. You run your business, but you cannot enjoy the profits, because whenever you take the money out from the business as a profit distribution, you have to pay double taxation. And every year you have to file annual reports, annual meetings, and also annual meetings and board of directors meetings minutes also you need to maintain. Then the last category I want to talk about is S corporation. This is also very popular entity structure. Small business owners are being used. Small business owners are using it. The advantage of S corporation is this: once you elect your business as an S corporation, the tax treatment will be. It is considered as a pass-through entity tax treatment. It means when a business makes a profit, you get the entire profit will be form part of your individual tax return. It's a pass-through into your individual tax returns. That is why it's called pass-through entity. So S corporation doesn't need to pay any taxes specifically, but the individual is responsible to pay the taxes. Like I'm the shareholder. If every shareholder will get a K1 from the S corporation, and the shareholder is responsible to pay the taxes, not a business, not an S corporation. And there are very strict compliance requirements are there for the S corporation from the IRS for the S corporation status. So which are very important. And the main advantage of having your business as an S corporation is you don't need to pay social security taxes, self-employment taxes, which is 15.3% on your net profits if it is an S corporation. If it is an LLC, which we discussed in a couple of slides back, you have to pay social security taxes 15.3% on your net profit. But if it's an S corporation, you don't have to pay social security taxes on your net profit. That is one of the most encouraging future why people go for S corporation. And the very important one is, if you're in S corporation, partnerships or corporations or non-resident
You
aliens
listen now
cannot.
with others, what they are doing. Okay.
Okay, so partnerships, corporations, or non-resident aliens cannot have shares in S corporation. If you are a non-resident, you cannot have a shares in S corporation. So if you want to shareholders as a if you have a share non-resident shareholders, then we recommend you to go for LLC or C corporation, but not S corporation. And S corporation, one more limitation we have is you cannot have more than 100 shareholders. And the last point here is you are obligated to file annual reports. You have to maintain annual meetings and board meetings minutes also every year. You are expected to maintain all those documentation. And this is at very high level. What are the steps to start your business, and what are the entity types we have, and from the tax perspective also I tried to cover, but there are many more points to discuss which we are going to cover in our Q&A session now. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Anil.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate your help. Hafiz, for our next, I would like to transfer the control back to you.
Thank you.
Yes. Hi. Good morning to everyone in California. Good afternoon elsewhere. Thank you, Om and your team for setting this up. We really appreciate it. Anil, it's a pleasure joining you and participating with you on this, sir. So what I would like to do is briefly go into some of the legal angles with respect to what Anil just discussed, and then jump into some of the immigration implications of establishing a business and some of the nuances that go along with that. All right. So with that note, so as Anil mentioned, you obviously identify your business and then you proceed from there, selecting an entity. Sometimes though, you find yourself where you're purchasing an existing business. If you're purchasing an existing business, then you may do what's called a stock purchase or an asset purchase, a bulk sale, or so forth. So that's something you have to consider. If you're doing an asset purchase, you sometimes still will form an entity and then make the acquisition in the entity name. And so the discussions that Anil had will usually apply. And then first thing I tell clients, whether they're coming to me just in the context of a business matter or whether it's underlying immigration purpose, I say speak to the accountant. Discuss with the accountant. So feel free and discuss what is needed from an accounting perspective. Do they recommend an LLC? Do they want a C Corp? Because most of the time we can fit in the legal issues with almost any entity. The tax considerations sometimes are less flexible. So give that priority, talk to the accountant, find out what entity they recommend given the business, and then we can proceed with that. Sometimes, obviously, if you're looking to go public or if you have other similar issues, then the legal matters become more prominent, and then you need to consider that. But otherwise, I always suggest speak to the accountant. Whatever the accountant recommends will assist you, or the accountant can assist in forming the company. All right. So in addition to obviously forming the company, you also want to take into account whether the name is potentially going to be a problem with respect to any trademark infringements, copyrights. You want to look into that. You want to also perhaps secure that name. Make sure that down the line, if you grow to become the next Apple, that you've already taken those steps to protect your rights down the line. You also are going to need a legal business address in order to incorporate. Sometimes individuals will use their home address. Be careful in that because your address is going to get published. It'll be available online, and you may not necessarily want that. So you may want to consider a business address, or you may want to consider a registered service provider or something like that. So that's a note to keep in mind. Once the entity is formed, make sure you follow with the corporate formalities, make sure the certificates are issued, make sure the bylaws, make sure the initial meetings, the initial director selections, all of that stuff is done. If it's an LLC, make sure you have your operating agreement, make sure it reflects the interests that you're concerned about, make sure it addresses what happens if you guys want to if the partners want to dissolve down the line. What happens if one person passes away? What about tag along rights? What do you do if you grow very big and decide to to sell to someone else or something like that? Consider all those implications. Also, one other thing I wanted to mention, the DBA. Sometimes you want to do business as, or also known as, you want to consider filing that as well. Back to the following formalities. It's not enough that you just form a corporation. You need to follow through at all times in complying with corporate formalities. You need to sign documents accordingly. You can't just sign your name. You have to sign on behalf of the corporation. So the key thing I always tell clients, don't forget, by. You're not signing John Doe. You're signing by John Doe, comma, president, comma, vice president, comma, member, whatever the case may be. That reduces your liability potentially and open to potential piercing the corporate veil, which means that a creditor or some other litigant down the line can say, you know what, you ran this as your own, even though you have a corporation, so we're going to go back after your assets. So be careful, keep the separation. Otherwise, the entity doesn't really help you much. All right. That's pretty much it. And I think Anil covered most of the other requirements as to the business formation and so forth. Now let me discuss a little bit about immigration, and then we'll open it up to Q&As. I know that a lot of individuals are here on various categories, and whether it's an H, whether it's an L, whether it's a B2, you have to be respectful of your immigration status and make sure you don't violate. If you're on an H1 with company XYZ as a software engineer, that's the only thing really you can do. Once you go beyond that, you're potentially risking violations of immigration laws. Can you open your own business? Yes, there's no general prohibition, but when you cross the line and start providing services on a regular basis, or when you start conducting activities on behalf of the company, you may be engaging in unauthorized employment, even for your own company. USCIS has deemed that self-employment is potentially employment, and that could potentially violate your immigration status. The key thing to keep in mind is to make sure that it's passive. You can own shares of Apple, but if you're running Apple, then you're violating potentially your immigration. A couple of cases that you may want to look at if you're considering this. There's a case called Matter of Bhakta, BHAKTA, and Matter of Weta Singh versus INS. Those discuss some of the instances where potential having a business can render you in violation of your immigration status. The idea is to analyze each particular venture on a case-by-case, each activity on a case-by basis, and speak with your attorneys, immigration, legal, and otherwise before you do anything that may potentially, impact your immigration status. That's it for me in terms of from business and some immigration nuances. I think we're open to questions at this point, I guess.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Hafiz. Let me share my screen and then we can go question one by one. Just give me a minute. So I believe in our formation Q&A, how to start a company, I believe already Anil covered it, and different kind of formations, and when to start a S Corp, C Corp, and LLCs. So what is the key differences when it comes to the formations? When I mean is the key difference, what is the key difference between S Corp, C Corp, and an LLC? Maybe probably Hafiz, you can help us out here.
I'll briefly dwell on it, but I think Anil may have better insight on this. So I know that an S corp is an election. It's a regular C corp where you make an S election, and I think Anil covered the basis for eligibility, maximum 100 shareholders. I think you have to be residents, correct, Anil? I don't think it can be just non-immigrants. I don't think qualify for S election.
You are right.
What I usually tell clients, and Anil also alluded to that, is wherever possible, if you can do with an LLC, go with the LLC, because the LLC, in terms of operating requirements, in terms of formalities, it's much more flexible than a C corp. Basically, you've got your operating agreement that sets forth all the details and the operating governance requirements, and that's usually enough. If you need to be a C corp and then do the S election, then that's fine, but S corps are much more stricter in terms of operating requirements. And I'll let Anil fill in some additional details.
Very good, Hafiz. You covered most of the part. But at very high level, LLC is the one, anyone can register an LLC. Whether you're in India, whether you're in US, Singapore, it doesn't matter whether you're a resident or non-resident, you can register an LLC. Same thing with the C corporation. But S corporation cannot have non-residents as a shareholders. That is the first most important one. Well, coming to the different entity types, what to choose, when to choose. The second one, LLC, you need to pay on top of federal taxes, on top of income tax, federal income taxes, state income taxes. You are also required to pay social security taxes, which is called self-employment taxes, 15.3% on the total net income you make from your LLC. But if you go for an S corporation, that 15.3% you don't need to pay on your net profit. So that is one of the main reason why people choose for S corporation. But however, for S corporation, you have to run a salary. It's a mandatory salary you have to run, and you have to pay social security taxes only to the owner salary only. And I'm not getting into the details there, but just giving it very high. And the other advantage, other thing is other important thing you need to consider is, if you are running a product company, you are working an idea, it can become a multi-billion dollars company in the near future. If you are looking for some venture capital investors, or if you're looking for international investors, then we recommend you to go for C corporation, because venture capitalists always prefer C corporation because it's a corporation. Corporation is always different from the business owner. So C corporation has some advantages also.
And
it
probably
can have
Delaware. Sorry, Anil, right? Delaware sometimes when you do this.
Okay. Few people recommend Delaware and Nevada because they have separate judicial teams who exclusively works to help the business owners. So they have more flexibility. It's that's why people prefer to go for Delaware or Nevada or Wyoming. So compared to other states. But however, if someone asks me where to register a company, I say that first preference where you live, in which state you live.
I agree.
Yes. Otherwise, you have to file two returns, and it's more complicated. But as I said, but if you're looking for venture capital investors, if you're really thinking about building a multi-billion dollars business, then yes, Delaware or Wyoming or Nevada, you might need to consider. Otherwise, simple formula, if anyone has some idea, hey, I want to do something, start LLC in the state where you are living. Let it run. If you think that, yes, the business is really expanding, the business is growing, you can convert to the C corporation. Yes, the business is growing, you want to move to the Delaware. Yes, you can move your state registration, the entity, from wherever you state, from one state to different state. There are different options are there. But however, it depends on many parameters. I strongly recommend you to work with your accountant or CPA or with an attorney to choose what entity suits for you, what state suits for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Along this line, gentlemen, I see a question from one of the attendees. I think it's kind of similar. Maybe we can try to both address this. So this gentleman asks, he's not in the US, and can he open an LLC, incorporate an LLC in the US without being present here. I'll answer my point and I'll let Anil fill in as well. So my understanding is yes, you can open an LLC, but in order to get a tax ID, you'll need a U.S. responsible officer to come in place and be essentially responsible for the LLC in the interim. I've had these arrangements, and sometimes they'll resign subsequent to the formation, and I believe that's permissible. Sometimes I think the accountants can also get temporary tax ID numbers in order to get a EIN number for such an entity. Anil, if you could maybe help this gentleman with that query.
Yes.
Further.
Yeah, you said right. Yes, you can incorporate an LLC or C corporation even you are in India or anywhere in the world. But you need to have one local contact where SBA, where IRS or any state government can go and contact him, where to send the notices, where to go and send, ask for the fees, penalties, anything. They need to have one local contact person. That's what the registered agent. So as long as you have the registered agent in US, you should be good.
Anil, this is Prasanna here. The question is something like on the same line. Being on a H-1B, can we start an LLC without having a green card citizen to be part of the company?
So before Anil answers, Krishna, we shall hold on to the questions. We have it in our immigration status, in immigration Q&A. We will come back and take those questions there. All right. So just hold on to that. If you have any questions, feel free to post it in the Discord or in the Zoom. We can definitely drive it there. Okay. Let's follow the process. Thank you. So thanks a lot, Anil. Thanks a lot, Hafiz, for helping us out here. So another question which we commonly come across is, what kind of corporations does it fits to be an online, in-state versus global operation companies? So this is very commonly we come across. So as an example, there is a product that is being done from one state, but it is being shipped all over the country. And there is a company where it is only found within the state, right? I mean, the product will be shipped and delivered only within the state. Whereas there are like global operations, suppose staffing. The company can be based out of somewhere in New Jersey, but the employees can be located somewhere in California or where else. So what kind of corporations do we need to form? What kind of corporations does it fit to this kind of strategies? And you probably maybe can help us out.
Yep, definitely. So it doesn't, whether you can do this business either online or staffing agency or any business. You can start as an LLC or C corporation, doesn't matter. But first of all, you need to register in the state where you want to do the business or where the business owner is sitting. And wherever you have, and every state, there are 50 states in US, and every state wants some income. Whenever there is some business happening in that state, or if there is a nexus with the state, that is, nexus means it's a business relationship. That state expects some income from you. So wherever, like example, I will take an example of staffing agency. It can be registered in the New Jersey in the state, but they have operations in Georgia. They have operations in California. They have some employees or clients in maybe in Delaware, wherever it is. They are expected to register in the respective states, and they need to get a state IDs from the respective state departments. And they also need to file state income tax returns for the income what they make for the year. And also, for suppose if they have the payroll, they have to register for the state IDs to run the payroll also. So yeah, you can, any entity formation, any corporation structure works, but you need to register. You also need to register with every state specific whenever you have some transactions with the respective state. Hafiz, if you want to add something, you can add.
No, I agree with you. You've covered that, and so you might need to do I think they call it certificate of authorization that may be required down the line if you have substantial presence or substantial activities at some point. Especially if you're going to have an office with employees, you also need to look at employment law considerations, and you're most likely going to need to file some sort of authorization. I think Anil's answer that every state wants a piece of the pie is really what it boils down to.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And I know you already answered this one, Faiz and Anil. We commonly come across Delaware LLC. Why specifically Delaware LLC? I know you already answered. Is there anything else in the form of taxation that helps from the Delaware LLC? That's one of the common questions which we come across.
Yes. So people think that, I mean, I say that everyone think yes, Delaware will help, but that is not the fact in every case. And I say that many people come to me asking me, can you help me on register in Delaware state? First I say that, hold on, is it really worth for you or not? Will this help you or not? Because there are no state taxes in Delaware state. That is one of the reason people go there. But people should know that there is a franchisee tax. So on your income or based on your assets or based on your investment or authorized share capital, you need to pay Delaware franchisee tax. But there are advantages. What are the advantages is the Delaware court has a dedicated judges who can run exclusively on the business law. I mean, like just to support the business owners, they're more flexible. And the other thing is there's a privacy. So many states ask us to disclose who are the shareholders, who are the members in the state secretarial board. But Delaware state doesn't need to disclose your name. Who is owning the share? You don't need to do it. You don't need to disclose to anyone. You can just set up the company. After that, you can issue the shares to whomever you want. You don't have to disclose to the public. So those are the advantages of the Delaware or Nevada. So, but yeah, as I said, it's not for everyone.
Thank you. Hafiz, you want to add anything on top of that?
No, they covered everything right on point.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, folks, please be on mute. We shall open up the audience Q&A in the last minute, once we are done with this Q&A. So is state-specific org or license required? I believe which you already answered. I will move on to the next question. Do we have any limitation on formation based on the skills? For suppose a physician, fund manager, book writer, staffing, is there any specific skill-based limitations on these formations, or as you said, it's a very plain, simple way of operation?
Do you want to cover that, or you want me to?
Sure. So I think what you're asking is, for example, lawyers can have a professional corporation PC or an LLP that does law. Similarly, physicians and so forth, accountants. So those professional corporations typically are governed by state law, and then I believe most states will require that you are licensed for that profession, or at least one or more individuals would have to be licensed in order to form such entities. So in order to form a legal PC, the state's going to look to make sure that there's an admitted attorney in that state. Similarly, with an accountant, physician, I don't believe it would apply to any non-licensed professions.
Yes, I agree with Hafiz. It is where it exclusively depends on where you want to register, in which state you want to register. The state decides which type of entity a professional needs to go through, that where there is a license is required. Otherwise, you don't need to worry. Like example, if you just want to start an IT company, you don't need to go for all this. You can just start an LLC. Come on, jump onto the game. So, but anyway, yeah, and I noticed that I want to take one point here. I noticed many times people try to do registrations through online, where they may use a legal Zoom or some other websites, but they do mistakes, because whether they are relevant or not relevant, they do the mistakes. After that, after running the business, after a couple of years, they realize they did a mistake at the foundation level. The penalties, the corrections will be more, you need to spend more time and effort to correct the errors. Rather, I strongly recommend you to pay a couple of hundreds of dollars to a professional and get the work done in a right way. When you're thinking about a big business, don't think about a couple of hundreds of dollars. Just pay to the professionals, let them lay the foundation appropriately.
Gotcha.
I completely agree. And it's not just that we want the business, it's we've seen these situations where we're doing repair work because people have tried to do certain things themselves. But I mean, that's not to say that it's not impossible, but there's a lot of complexities and nuances. Sometimes it's just better to do it right from the get-go.
Yes. Thanks.
Got you. Thank you. So moving on to the another question. Over a period of time, can we change the formation type while operating? It means, can I change from LLC to C Corp, C Corp to S Corp, and back to S Corp to C Corp? Can we do that kind of change over a period of time?
So definitely yes. So you can do any changes, but there are some time limitations sometimes. Like example, once you convert from you started a business as an LLC. After a couple of years, you said that S Corp might be better. If you meet all the requirements, conditions, yes, you can convert to the S Corporation. Or if you want to convert to C Corporation, yes, you can do it. But once you convert to the C Corporation, and again, if you want to go back to LLC, again go back to C Corporation. If you want to do back and forth, there are some time limitations are applicable. I strongly recommend you to check with our accountants on that. But otherwise, yes, you have a flexibility to convert from one structure to other structure at any point of time in the when you're running the business. Of course, yeah, that's it. Hafiz, if you want to add something, you can add.
No, I agree. So I think the other point I would set forth is that obviously there's some legal implications when you're doing this. You want to make sure that you're not doing anything that at any point compromises the companies, the ownership, that when you do the transfer that you haven't, inadvertently omitted something as to one shareholder, and that the conversion follows parallel, that something isn't left behind or something isn't left unaddressed. So whenever you do something like, especially if you're going back and forth, you're creating a nightmare both for the accountants and the lawyers, because you got to follow the paper trail and the chain of events. And then sometimes that can be very difficult. So be careful. If you don't have to do it, don't do it.
I agree, Hafiz. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Let's move on to the next topic, immigration Q&A. So few of our audience are on either different kind of immigration statuses. So one of the common question which comes across is, I got stuck with H1B. I can't start a firm. I got stuck with B1. I don't have a green card. I can't start a firm. So what kind of firms do you suggest? What kind of formation do you suggest for such kind of immigration statuses?
Sure.
So yeah.
So I think different answers will probably apply depending on the category. An H or an L holder will probably get a different answer than somebody on a B1. B1 is here very temporarily, probably 6 months, maybe at most 1 year, and then is leaving and is probably not going to be here. And H may be here for 10 years or longer. L similarly, I mean, they can be here for a long time, and then they're authorized to be here and engage in some forms of employment. So as I mentioned earlier, an H1 or an L1 individual, even a B1, is able to own a company as long as it's passive. Once you cross a line where your business activities potentially constitute unauthorized employment, that's when you're getting into a situation where it's risky. Let me discuss briefly a little case. So there's a case called Matter of Tong. This gentleman basically was on an F1 status, and he decided to open up, at some point the F1 was expiring, he opened up a car dealership. The government found him having violated his status because he was running the business, literally running the business, running the shop, and so forth. Now take the Matter of Bacta. In the Matter of Bacta, this gentleman opened up a motel in California. He basically invested. USCIS took the position based on the facts that he was an investor. He had other people that were running the business and doing all the work. He was really just using his finances. He was using his maybe some level of professional insight, but beyond that, he wasn't taking away from any potential US person's job. And they found that, okay, he's an investor and he didn't violate. Similarly, well, not similarly, in contrast, there's another case where this particular person is running an ice cream shop, ice cream trucks. This is Matter of Wetasenge. And this person is basically, again, doing day-to-day operations, and even takes out one of the trucks when somebody's not available. Immigration said, you are violating your status because you're not just providing your finances, you're not passive, you're actually participating in some level of employment, even though it's self-employment, and therefore you violate it. So those are the things you want to keep in mind when you're on an HR&L. If you're passive, if you've just made a silent partner investment and you're not doing much, and it's intermittent, it's on and off, it's not on a regular basis, then you're probably okay. But if you're going to go anywhere beyond that, then it's a slippery slope. Look at everything very detailed, case by case basis, and then go from there. I hope that answers the query.
Yeah, definitely. So what can be done and cannot be done as part of these incorporations? Before I chime on to this one. So typically what we are hearing based on the conversation is LLC and C Corp as an investor for these immigration statuses would be suffice to run the organization. Is that a fair statement to say, Hafiz?
Yes. I think, I mean, so if LLC, I think you have to be a little bit more careful because LLC is a limited liability company, and depending on if you're a managing member, then you're already crossing the line. So an LLC can have operations by a managing member or a manager. If you want to be very strict and protect your status, you probably don't want to be a managing member. Then de facto, you're saying you're doing some management. You probably want to be have the business run as through a managing member. So the idea is get somebody to run the business. If USCIS questions you at some point, what is this company? What's going on here? What you're going to say is, I own the company. I've got my general manager does everything for me. I've got staff, they do everything. I'm the money person behind it. I may make some policy decisions once in a while. Other than that, I'm passive. I'm not really, it says, again, going back to the Apple example, I decide to hold shares of Apple. I decide to sell some nominal decisions. I'm not controlling Apple. Similarly, if an individual is running a business and they're on an H1, if they can point to some facts along that line, then they're probably not violating their status.
Got you. So you covered this one. What can be done and cannot be done as part of these incorporations? Thank you.
Okay.
So the other question is, can I be employee of my own company? If yes, how can I operate it? So far of the conversation, what you said is you have to be an investor, but is there a possibility that I can be an employee of my own company?
So this is in the context of an immigration situation, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the question is, what visa are you holding? If you're holding an H1, your H1 is valid so long as you are employed by your petitioner in the capacity as set forth in your petition and getting the proper wages and so forth. So you cannot work for any other company. Can you be your own H1 sponsor? Maybe, but I don't think you want to go there. The question comes up whether there's a true employer-employee relationship. If you're the sole shareholder, probably not. The idea is, can you be fired if you're doing something improper? Can you be terminated? If ultimately you're the individual at the end of the day who makes all the decisions, then there's really no true employer-employee relationship. All right, so I don't recommend self-sponsorship unless you're in a category like the O1, which potentially does allow some elements of self-sponsorship, or the E2 or the E1, which does allow you to have your own company and even provide services through that company. Unfortunately, the US, India is not part of the E2 treaty, so that's not available. Although I did see some Canadians here, they're asking about this option. The E2 is a great option. It does allow you to run your own business if you're from one of the treaty countries, and you can even provide some services. You can't be the only one providing services, but if you're providing some services and you have other people along helping you, then you can, through the E2, provide those services.
Gotcha. So another common question which we come across is, as a C Corp, when a C Corp, a husband and wife, a husband is holding an H1 and he opened a C Corp. can his wife, who is on H4, can work for the company?
So when the H4 holder has the EAD card, absolutely, because the EAD entitles that person to work for any company. All right. Unlike the H1, the H4 does not have a petitioner. It's an employment authorization document that allows the person to just sit and do nothing or go work for any company. So the H4 in that respect has much more flexibility.
Gotcha.
Does that
Thank
answer?
Yeah, thank you. And can I avail green card benefits through my own company? So I was able to have a startup on my H1. I was able to run a multi-million-dollar company. Can I get a green card on my own company? What kind of revenues help me to secure it?
So
Very much vague question, I understand, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
okay. So, I mean, to get green card through your own company, I'm assuming, I mean, there's two things we have to ask. First, are you holding your status? How are you here in the first place? If you're on an H1, is it through that company? If it is through that company, and I'm assuming it's everything's on board, you know, the employer-employee relationship has been met, then potentially it is possible. But again, when you go to the perm and the EB1, EB2, or EB3 filing, you'll have to show that a true employer-employee relationship is always there, that the hiring, the firing, the master servant relationship is going to be always there. And then the recruitment. With perm, you're required to show that you're trying
50 Fortune 500 companies from
or you're going to try to find a qualifying worker other than yourself. So I think that begs the question, you know, that may be a problem. Where you can get green card direct through your own investment is through the EB5. All right. So the EB5, if you've made a proper investment, currently it's 900,000 in what's called a target area or 1.8 million in a non-target area, and you create 10 jobs, you potentially can get a green card. Other than that, through the perm route, I think it's very challenging.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And yeah, let's move on to the next one, taxation. So I believe, Anil, you already covered this one. Can you please explain the taxation type of formation? I believe which you already covered this one. If you have any further points, maybe probably you can.
Yeah, as you are asking, just in 1-2 lines, I want to summarize it. LLC or S corporation, they are considered as a pass-through entities. It means you will be paying the taxes on the profit you made from the business from these type of entities at the rate what is in general applicable for every individual. Based on there is a slab rates. So just it at the individual standard rates, you will be paying taxes for your share of your business, either from your LLC, partnership LLC, or S corporation. It's completely different when we talk about C corporation. C corporation always pays taxes on its own. It's different. All bigger major corporations, Amazon, Microsoft, those all are the C corporations. So they pay their taxes on their own, which is at the 21% tax. This is for this current year, the tax rate is 21 flat, irrespective of the incomes. So then, whenever you want to take the money out from the business, it's called dividend distribution because you made a profit, you want to take out the money. Whenever you want to take out the money, again, you need to pay taxes at your regular standard tax rates. So if you don't want to take the money out, yes, you can leave it there, let it grow. But otherwise, you need to pay taxes second time also. That's why we call C corporation as a double taxation. So that's it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. So this is one of the common questions which we come across. Can we operate multiple line of business under one firm name? It can be one firm name, some XYZ. Can we operate software product development, funding, product selling, everything kind of combination into one formation?
At high level, yes. At high level, answer is yes. You do means yes, you can do it. So what is the right way of doing? So I recommend, because considering the liability protection, an example, you are running an restaurant and you have some real estate. Do you want to combine both? You want to do some investments in the real estate, like you want to a rental investment, and you are running a restaurant industry. Do you want to combine under the same LLC? Answer, can you do it? Answer is yes. Do you recommend? My answer is no, because for suppose if something happened in your restaurant, some food poison happened, someone filed a case on you. A case on you means not you, it's on your LLC. Because the person whoever files a case on you, files a case on LLC, they have the right to get the money to the extent of the assets of the company. It means the same LLC also has the real estate investments. So if something happened at the restaurant, it has an impact on your real estate investments also. Why do you want to take a risk? So what I personally recommend is have two different LLCs separate, so that even some business is at the risk, the other business will not be impacted. That is the main. But some people say that, no, still I want to maintain at the same LLC because this is very, it is very good for me. It is really, the name is really working for me as per Vastu, whatever the name say, they want to do the business, all the businesses under the same name. Can you do it? Answer is yes. Then you can do it. There's a concept called DBA, doing business as. You can register every business segment as a DBA. You can open a bank account for every DBA. You can open a register. You can get a registration ID for every DBA, state IDs for every DBA. So, but the liability protection is at the same company level, which is at a LLC level, but you can run the business at the DBA levels. So answer is yes, but there are ways how you can do it.
Perfect. Thank you. But it definitely gives us a clear idea on liability side. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
All right. So this is one of the other typical questions that comes that arises in our forum. What kind of insurances are required? Any state-specific requirements based on the kind of formations?
Yes. So again, it's connected with every state, with the state where you want to register your business or where you want to run your business. So there are different types of insurances are there. Some might be mandatory, some might be an optional, or some we recommend. The one what you can say is first is workman compensation insurance. If some accident taken place at your place of operation, at your business place, so then if we then this workman compensation insurance will help you to take care of those costs. Some states have this as a mandatory that you should have workman compensation insurance. Then there is one more insurance called unemployment insurance taxes. How does this work? For suppose if one of your employee got terminated and he is filing for an unemployment support from the government, then this unemployment insurance will take care of that. So again, this is a mandatory for many states. And there are some couple of options are there. Disability insurance, like example, if any of your employee got disabled, then this insurance will help you. But again, this is an optional for some state. So I recommend you to check with your state if there are any mandatory insurances. On top of this, in general, with my experience, I do also see a lot of other insurances like general liability insurance. So when you run your business, you don't want to carry a lot of risk because you put a lot of time and effort to make $1, to earn $1. So when you do this, we strongly recommend you for every business to have a general liability insurance. It means if anything happens to this business, or it can be at the premises, or something happens to anything during the business time, if something happens, this general liability insurance will take care of those expenses. So definitely you need to consider general liability insurance and professional liability insurance. If you are a professional, or if you are an accountant, insurance agent, or a doctor, or lawyer, attorney, we go for professional liability insurance like E&O insurance, like errors and omissions insurance. And there are different types of professional insurances also there. I recommend you to consider when you start your business. On top of that, again, commercial property insurance. Also there, if you are running a commercial property, if you have a commercial property as an investment of your business, you might need to have that also. But I recommend you to consider to have some natural disasters also covered under commercial property insurance, because we don't know if some wind might have come up, or some storm might have come up, or some earthquake might come up. So we always recommend you to work with your insurance agent to ensure that your business is properly protected from every dimensions, so that you will not lose, you will not be in the problem if something bad happens, unfortunately. So these are
Thank
the
you.
insurances at very high level.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. That helps. Now, moving on to the next topic. Top 5 things to be taken care. Om Prakash, if you're on the call, can you please unmute yourself and can you help us out here, please?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Fiz and forgot the name, Anil Garu, for joining the call, giving the valuable information. Thank you, Best in Five team, for conducting the call. Yeah, I think Jay Garu, they covered all the aspects, from the C Corp, S Corp, H Corp, S Corp, and also different taxation, insurance requirement. As a product owner, as as attorney says, even if you're a H1 or H4EAD, you can start a company. But you need to be passive. In H4EAD, you can start a company, you can be active, but not an H1. You have to be passive. You can have him, you can nominate the manager. The managing member can manage all the business operations. You have to be very careful about how to manage your company to passive as a passive passive member, but nominate whoever the manager is. He's the managing member. Second one is taxation. I think Anil Gara, I want to talk about, should we do the accrual basis and cash basis when you start filing the tax returns? That is also very important. Accrual basis and cash basis when you're filing the taxes for the company. And third one is if you want to start a product company, IT company. If you want to start IT company for H1B visa holders and H1B visa holders and H4 visa holders, it's always good to recommend C Corp. And you always start the technology, focus on technology. What is the product you're trying to, or what is the either cloud or cyber security or CRM and SAP. Identify that, build a partnership with those companies, and then start the IT company. Then having the H1 people, if you can do the H1 sponsorship, but again, you have to go with the attorney and take his services while filing the H1B and everything, H1B visa and everything. And fourth one, coming back to funding wise, if you want to, you can invest from your personal account. As the investor, you can invest with the company. Then as a C Corp, you have to pay the company as a company. You have to pay the taxes. Then if you want to take out the money from the company, you have to pay the dividend to the company by issuing 1099. Just like if you buy Apple share, Google share, Microsoft share, Tesla share, you're getting the dividend from the company. So they give the dividend as part of towards the end of the year, 1099, in the form of 1099. So in the same way, you can take the money from the C Corp. All the liabilities, all liability, workers' compensation, general liability, I think all the aspects are covered. From the, I think we want to cover more detail about how to start the product company. What do you need? You need to have what is a POC or MVC for product company. MVC, minimum viable product, or proof of concept. Be ready, go and sell, try to build a customers for the product first. And without going for investment, you can raise the annual investment from couple of your friends, $5,000, $2,000, $6,000 or something like that. Then first build a product and take it to the customers, build a customer set that you small revenue, then go to the venture capitalist. In order to do that, you need to build a market analysis, go-to-market strategy, how you are going to reach out to customers, and financial statement, and how much you want to sell the product. And we will cover all those aspects. I have a successful, I build a lot of successful companies in IT and product-based companies. We will cover as part of the, in a different session, we'll cover in detail about how to do IT staffing company, how to do a real estate company, how to do a product-based company. We'll cover in detail. I will share some templates also, presentation templates to the both investors, to the customers. How do you present those presentations to the We'll cover that. I think Jagaru, I think we're running out of time. I think a lot of questions are there. Maybe you want to take the questions from the audience.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank you.
a lot,
Yeah,
Home.
yeah.
Before I step onto the Q&A, I really want to acknowledge and say thank you to our volunteer team who worked relentlessly for long hours in the night to ensure that we capture all this questionnaire and have it in a format. Vasavi Inagopala Garu, Ravi Dasari, Sumant, and Janardhan Kasala. All these 4 people worked really hard to put this one into a right shape. Thank you. Thanks to you, team. Yeah, with that said, let's move on to the Q&A. I'll try to go ahead with the chart. What are the questions that was posted? Maybe probably Hafiz and Anil, if we have a couple more minutes, we can quickly go through those and then we can wrap it up. All right?
So Jagar, yes.
Sounds good.
I think Sumant Magante also put together, Jagar, maybe forgot Sumant Magante also put together a lot of information in the presentation. Thank you, Sumant, for all the volunteers, best and fired volunteers. Yeah, really appreciate. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, Anil.
Yeah, so one of the question is, I think, which you already answered, but can a person in India who didn't even land, or anyone who didn't even land into the states, can start C corporation? If so, how will they end up paying taxes? So looks like this gentleman has company back in India, and they want to start a subsidiary or some kind of organization in states. How can they open and run the organization, right?
Sure. I mean, as we covered this point, but yes, can they open a C corporation? Answer is yes, as long as you have a local registered agent address. So where government can go and ask, contact the person if there are any issues. So as long as this is good, and when you file a C corporation, the tax rates are same. I mean, C corporation has to pay taxes on its own to the extent of 21%. But if you want to take the money out, then you need to pay dividend taxation on your whatever money you are taking out from the business. The business owner has to file a tax return as a non-resident at the individual capacity whenever you take the money out from the company. Otherwise, you should be good. And at the end, at the business, and also the C corporation has an obligation to withhold 20% of the dividend whatever they are paying towards the taxation, because whether you may file the taxes, you may not file the taxes, so you may miss it. So there is a withholding taxes rules also comes into the picture. Yes, you can start a business as a C corporation from India.
Got you. So coming to the when it comes to, we are perfectly fine with the taxation part, but when it comes to the immigration, right? Hafiz, would you like to add some points? Where kind of pitfalls where these kind of organizations get into?
Sure. So the company can stand here, and then as Anil mentioned, it's its own entity. It's its own person. It's a fictional person. So it can do whatever it wants if there's some people here that are running the business. Now, when the individual shareholder or whoever the manager is, that's the foreign representative, when they come here, they cannot obviously engage in employment unless they have some specific visa. They can come here to monitor the business. They can do that on a B1, B2, to occasionally show up, look at the operations, talk to their accountants, talk to their people, back and forth. Again, if it's intermittent, if it's somewhat passive or occasionally even productive, a B1 would allow that. If the activities become more prevalent and then additional presence is needed, then they may need to send somebody here and hire them as a manager or as an H1, whatever capacity, find an appropriate visa, making sure that the individual requirements are met. I think what you're suggesting seems to be like an L1 situation. There's a foreign company, there's a US company. So in those situations, what we usually do is we'll have the US company be a subsidiary. Typically, wholly owned is better. So you have the US entity wholly owned by the foreign company, and you can transfer an individual provided they meet the eligibility requirements to come here to be an L1 manager or an executive.
Yes, I agree with you, Hafiz. That's a good point.
Okay, good. I believe there is a similar question where one of the gentlemen is trying to sell organic products from India and would like to bring those products to US and sell it in the state and trying to seek some help on formation of those. Thank you. Anyhow, thanks a lot. And let's move on to the next question. Can I start a foreign NPO on H1B?
Is NPO nonprofit organization?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, you can, again, the laws of the US are very flexible with respect to entrepreneurship. The question is, what activities are you going to be doing while in the US? If you run everything from India, you can violate, obviously, Indian law where you're sitting. But if you're coming to the US and if you do engage in some activities in the US, then you have to consider, are you potentially engaging in unauthorized employment? What visa are you on when you're performing the activities that you intend to perform? And are those activities potentially, inconsistent with your visa? You come on an H1 for XYZ company and you're starting a nonprofit, and then you're also, managing the nonprofit, you're probably engaging in unauthorized employment as to the nonprofit. So passive, yes, but if you start becoming active, then you're potentially violating.
Okay, thank you. I know we already crossed the timeline. One last question before we close it out. Can we talk about K1 forms? What is this K1 forms and how do they help in the form of taxation? Anil probably can shed some light here.
Yes, I can. So K1 means it is the K1 form represents what is your share from the business, from the business. It means if you are a partnership, if you invested your money or time or efforts into a company where you are the shareholder, so then at the end of the year, like example, I will take a company. Two persons, X and Y, together started an IT company. So at the end of the year, they made a profit of $100,000. So the profit sharing in the company is 60 and 40. So X got $60,000, Y got $40,000. So the money, how you take the money or how you take the profits from the company, from the partnership LLC is called K1. So this K1 is like an instrument which will be added to your individual tax return. So when I run a business, after 1 year, you got a $60,000 profit share through K1 from your partnership LLC. You need the $60,000 will be part of your individual tax return, and you will be paying taxes on the $60,000 at your individual tax rates. So if you are in higher tax bracket, your $60,000, you may be paying taxes at the higher rate. Your partner who got K1 for $40,000, he might be at very lower tax bracket, but he will be paying at very low tax rate on the $40,000. So this is what the same rules even applicable for the losses also. In the same IT company, when you ran it at the end of the year, you got a loss of $100,000. So instead of profit of $60,000, you receive a loss of $60,000 K1. So this is how it comes up. Again, there are two elements under K1: active, passive. When you play an active role in your company, and then in the K1, you can clearly identify, say that the $60,000 is an active income or a passive income. If you play a role, active role, it's called active K1. That will be adjusted with your other profits, if any, in the business. Example, if you get a loss from this K1, this loss can be adjusted with any other gain you make from your other businesses. For suppose if it's a passive income, like example, you did investment in a real estate property along with your friend. Again, you got some loss of $60,000. This loss cannot be adjusted with your active income. So K1 can be a profit, can be losses. It can be an active, it can be losses. It can be passive. So based on the K1, how you need to pay taxes, what is the impact on your individual tax return will be impacted. And if you have any follow-up questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, you can even send an email to me. I'm happy to answer.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. And one last question before we close it off. So one of the interesting question is, how do we reduce taxes by opening subsidiary companies in Singapore, Malaysia, and XYZ countries? So maybe probably you can chime in here.
Yeah. I will.
And then we shall close the session. Okay.
Yeah. I do a lot of international taxation. So I'm a chartered accountant. Yes, sir.
Anil, I think the question is, if you want to open India, maybe you can cover holding.
Sir, no, your voice is breaking.
Oh, your voice is breaking up more.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so let me take up that question and I will answer. So the internet, it comes under international tax structure, international structure. In world, every country has different tax structures, and there are different international double taxation rules also there. When I come into the US has a DTAA, double taxation avoidance agreement with Singapore, with India, and with many other countries. So there are tax haven countries in the world where their tax liability is almost zero or not there at all. So what we do is, at the international taxation structuring wise, if you start your business in any other tax haven country, maybe it can be a Finland, it can be a Singapore, or it can be Mauritius. So in those cases, the taxes are very less. So what people try to do is, they try to move the profits from this place to that country at arm's length price. Whenever there's an international transaction happen between the relative companies, like closely associated companies or affiliates, the transaction has to happen at the arm's length price. As long as you do that, some people, I know that many people live in Mauritius, many people live, some great business tycoons live in Mauritius or Singapore or Finland, because those are the tax haven countries. So we move different level of structuring we do. We move the profits to those countries in a legal way. So then at the end, the receiving person is the shareholder. The shareholder is the resident of the respective countries. So then the tax liability will be at very less. So this comes under tax structuring. So, but I'm not getting in detail considering the shortage of the time, but I'm happy to answer, or I can even talk about international taxation on some other week.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Anil. We have a few more questions, but what we will do from here now is our volunteers team will gather those questions and segregate them. We'll try to reach out to you in person so that, through email, so that we can coordinate and get further clarification on those. All right.
Sure, definitely.
That said, thanks a lot, Anil, Finn, and Om Prakash. And
Jay, sorry. So can you share Anil and Afi's contact details?
Yeah, sure. After this, I'm going to put it in our Discord. All the information will be available on the Discord so that we can go with those details. All right. Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Anil. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
No problem, sir. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Once again, a special thanks to Om, who pulled it off in the last minute. Thanks for bringing Anil and Hafiz in the last minute. Thanks a lot, folks. All right.
Thank you.
And stay in touch. Stay safe.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Yep. Thanks, Hafiz.
Thank you.
And thanks to the web for this opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, don't miss the fire session in another half an hour.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks all.
Thank you, Anil Hafiz, for 1.5 hour time, 1.5 hour time, and 1.5 hour time for this session. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Great job, volunteers. Really appreciate it.